Hi, everybody. Brian DuPont here with Love Indeed Missions in Calvary Chapel, the High Desert. I have the opportunity to tell you about what the Lord is continuing to allow us to be a part of in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 1 John 3:18 is our theme verse. Let us not love in word and in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And this year, we got to love indeed through 6 different construction projects. I had to learn how to survive without my luggage as the airlines lost my bag, and that was a challenge from the outset. Our Land Cruiser broke down twice, leaving us stranded on the side of the road. We arrived late at one destination in the dark, first time for me, and we had to go by canoe in the swamp and then a couple of miles up the trail through the jungle in the dark. That was a great experience. There was an increase this year, it seemed, from some of the previous years in the corruption stops, but the love and the need of the locals there in the Congo far outweighed all of the problems and inconvenience. We got to work with 5 churches and the Love Indeed School at Calvary Chapel of Baraka with over 800 kids. So come and hear about how your prayers and support make a difference in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. With me is John Galley this morning, and we're here to give you an update on our 2022 trip to the Congo. One of the first challenges that we were faced really was a challenge for me, and that was when we arrived there in Burundi, before we had to go through all the drama of the COVID test that was required and the challenges with that. I lost my luggage. So this is the first time, 15, 17 years, I don't know exactly, probably more than that, traveling to Africa and specifically the Congo. This is the first time that I've lost my personal bag. So, arriving at our destination, we've got 4 bags, 2 are supplies, John's personal, my personal, and my personal bag not being there. And then dealing with people that don't speak English very well and having to make a claim and all that. And then just the delay. We actually, we lost a couple of days. We waited a night in Burundi, no show. We decided to go to Congo, waited in Uvira a night, still no show, and then had to make that decision. Look, we got to get on with our mission. This is how it's going to be. So, purchased some supplies in Burundi, a few more later when we got into Congo. And, I just realized early on, I'm still going to have more than most of the people that we were there to serve. So, that was a valuable thing. I realized I pack a lot more stuff than I need. I can get by if I have to on a whole lot less stuff. First couple days, I think you loaned me a T-shirt until we got some things, but and a toothbrush as well. So I gave that back to you. Did you use it after that? And so tell me about your experience on the road to Uvira, from Uvira to Baraka.
So yeah, the road from Uvira to Baraka is challenging, and it's definitely 4-wheel drive access, and very dusty, bumpy ride and long. But it's a great experience to be there and to see. It's a very beautiful area with the lake there and the surrounding mountains, and it's the road is challenging, as I mentioned, just dusty, bumpy, high. You try to deal with the dust, but you got to have the windows down. So the Lord just gets you through it. So where you're going. You're there to do God's work, and you get to be a part of it. So there's just an excitement in your heart that it's a little challenging, but you're excited to get to the next step and to arrive in Baraka and see the school and the children there, and just what God's doing there with the people and growing the church and the school.
Our 4th day in, we're finally headed to Baraka, and the road breaks the upper control arm, I think, on our Land Cruiser, and we're stranded on the side of the road. And so there's the next opportunity for faith, and so the driver drives up to the next village right there. We were not far away, and who knew? Guy there on the side of the road has a welder, and they weld it back up, and we're on our way. So our first destination, once we were in Baraka, was to go out to the church in Katanga. Now, there are 9 churches. Baraka is our base camp in the sense of the home church, and others they've made disciples and multiplied and gone out to other villages, and now there's 8 others. So the first project that we had to line up was Katanga. So you got your first experience of the challenges of construction work in the Congo there at Katanga. What was that experience like for you?
So yeah, the construction there is a lot different than here in America. The one thing that stands out is the tools and the lack of tools. They, one of the lots we ended up clearing the lot. They cut it with a machete and like a stick.
That was Katanga.
Okay, yes, that was Katanga, and so yeah, it's like using a stick basically for a rake to get the grass out of the way, and then hand digging the footings, and it's an exciting process to watch them to lay out the building and to set the corners, and then to be a part of the process and helping actual hands-on to help dig and just whatever they need there. And so yeah, the process is a little different, but you just adapt and just you're just thankful. Once again, you're just thankful that you're there, a part of God's work.
Amen. I always like to give a shout out to Ibrahim Olele. There was actually a third team member with us throughout the course of our time. We bring a brother from Calvary Chapel in Nairobi, Kenya, who is a translator, great brother in the Lord, great translator. He's a little timid when it comes to the camera, so we don't get too many shots with Olele in it, especially talking. So I do want to give a shout out to Olele. Hey, brother, thanks for your help. So, Sabile, we have our first Sunday morning. You got your first cultural experience of church in a African village church, fellowship with the saints. I think it was a little light that day. There was a family death, and some of the people were still in mourning, and they weren't there. But it was a great time of just worship. I got the opportunity to teach the word there, which is always a special blessing. So how was that initial church experience with the saints there in Sabile?
So yeah, obviously a great blessing. They have a beautiful little small church that is the block, and it's a well-built structure. And so just being there, and obviously when they start out with the worship, and they sing and dance beautifully, and they're just awesome at the music, and it's a blessing to just see their culture, their dances, and how they praise the Lord with worship and with song.
So we return to Baraka. We're kind of going out and coming back, and going out and coming back, and stay the night and come back, and that's kind of our typical agenda. But we had to change some things. Plans always change. You got to write them in pencil. They got to be flexible. And so we had some issues with materials, supplies, availability. I had to delay some things a few days, but so we just rescheduled. So now we're going to the Calvary Chapel Baraka. We're going to the Lid for Kids, Love Indeed School sponsor project, and many of those that watch this, they watch because they want to hear about the school. There are those who support the Love Indeed. And if you're not, cchdmissions.com, you can sign up to support these kids over at this school at Calvary Chapel Baraka in the Congo. So you are a sponsor. You're one of the sponsors of that school. And so what was that like for you, not only as a construction worker, to be able to go and be involved in a construction project improving this school, but actually seeing this is real. This is the real thing. I mean, to be there with all those kids, and to know that you get to have a small part in that, and now to come and be there and be a part of that. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so that was definitely just a awesome blessing after being the Lord allowed me, to get involved with the sponsorship of these children. And when I went to the school to see how it's improving their lives, and just the education they're getting, and God's work right there, and to actually be a part of we took down an old wooden part of the structure and put up the new block. And but yeah, just to see see some of the teachers and just the kids and the excitement that they have and the impact, I could just see how it impacts their lives and their culture in obvious ways. And to be in a classroom that, once again, it's a humble setting, but it's growing, and just God's work right there. And it's to actually see a chalkboard that has writing on it in their language, and these kids learning, and one opportunity when they got out of class, just how many children and just how excited they were. And I just praise God. I thank God that they have that place right there, to grow in their education and the Word of God.
So we move on from the school, the work at the school, and all these places where we started work. The work is continuing. We'd go back after a day or two and check on how the things are going. We're kind of juggling, in the end, 6 different construction projects. We talked about Katanga, Sabile, the school at Baraka. The next couple of days are going to be on the lake or via the lake. So you now get the exciting opportunity to go out on Lake Tanganyika. Now, I do have to say, the guys in the past have been on much smaller boats, and we've had some adventures for sure, scary, a little bit, tense situations on Lake Tanganyika. But because we're hauling materials now we're headed to Misha. And Misha, last year, I think was the first time there, do an outreach, preach the gospel, people are saved, they want to start a church. We were able to buy some land at a very reasonable price, so we get a chance to go back and actually start something. So all the materials got to be taken by boat down to Misha. So you got your first boat experience, but because of the cement and rebar, other things that were being hauled, we're in a bigger boat, which really made for a much nicer ride.
Yeah, so absolutely. As far as I've heard of some of the boat rides and the challenges they had in the past. My boat ride, the boat ride I was a part of, it was an awesome experience, beautiful day. It was, like he mentioned, a bigger boat. So never felt any kind of fears or anything. So it was an enjoyable ride, and across to Misha, and it was it was definitely just a great day that day. And I just think of how big that lake is, but it supplies them with a lot of what they need. Obviously they fish there, and the boat. The thing about the boat is, and looking at them, they use the local lumber, and they construct these boats. And I was just fascinated of how they use their resources, what they have, and they make it work. And God just provides what they need to accomplish that.
But construction resources have to be hauled in, though.
Right.
So
yes.
Misha is the first place. We could take that by boat, but it's about 5 miles to get from the little port there where the boat pulls in at Misha, where it can actually come up to the shore. We have another boat adventure we'll talk about in a minute, but all of that had to be hauled up, and some guys that came with us brought these rickety old bicycles, and that was their job. They were the porters, and they hauled all that material all the way up to Misha. So we got to see the church start there in Misha, but we had another change of plans. The owner of the boat had told us we could stay the night, and so we were planning on staying in Misha and then going on to Nimba the next morning. He recanted that decision and said he needed his boat back that night. So we had to leave Misha a little bit earlier than planned, definitely, because we were going to stay the night there. So we cut across the armpit there of the peninsula over to Misha, which is another access, not Nimba, excuse me, which is another access by boat. So the sun set when we're going over to. So what are your thoughts initially? We're on the lake, the sun has set, and we're headed to Nimba, John. And so,
yes.
What are your initial thoughts thinking about arriving somewhere in the dark?
Well, yes, obvious concerns. The dark would bring a little added challenges, but But the sunset was beautiful, but it's getting dark, and I'm thinking, wow, we're gonna have to get off this bigger boat, and then I assume we had some walking to do or some hiking, and so yeah, in the dark, I was both excited and a little just thinking, wow, I'm hoping everything's gonna go well and we get to where we need to be, without being, too fatigued. But it was a challenging day, both having before we took the boat ride, before it got dark, we had to do that. Roughly, I guess it's about a 5-mile hike in, and like he said, we were gonna stay there, but we had to do the 5-mile hike back out, get on the boat in the dark, and then plan to have that other hike when we did get to the land. So, I had some concerns there, but a lot of excitement in the unknown.
So coming into Nimba's another village community that I really enjoy. We've been there several times. There's a church under construction already, so we're going actually to further. When we first arrived in Burundi, we had made arrangements for materials to be shipped. The steel in Burundi is better quality, the products, and more available, and so we'd arranged for some steel to be purchased and shipped over to Baraka so that it could go out to Nimba. And that was part of the reasons why we had to delay and wait a little bit. But so the products are coming by truck, we're coming in by boat. And so I was excited to go back to Nimba, but there's no port at Nimba. There's no beach where you can, even with the big ship, pull in, or even with a small ship. Last year, some of you may recall, we had to navigate through a swamp to get to the shore to go to Nimba, and so we're doing that in the dark. So the big ship can't get into the shore, and so we quickly learned, because there was some brothers out there, some guys with their canoes, their fishing boats, and so we learned, okay, we got to do this by canoe. So it's dark. And so you got off first with Pastor Asakulu, so I knew you were in good hands. But as you're going off in the dark into the swamp, I'm thinking, this has got to be blowing John's mind. This is a first for me even, but here he is, first time in Africa, and now he is in the dark with the pastor, headed for, what we're told was shore, through the swamp, crickets and frogs, crocs, whatever. It's never about the adventure. God allows those, and those are moments of faith. I have them all the time. It's like, okay, Lord, we didn't know that was going to happen, but hey, God gets us through, and then we hike
Absolutely.
up. It's a couple miles up into Nimba, and then we've got to set up tents. So we set up our tents, and then we're camped out there. And so the next morning we get to start the construction project, but construction can't start without materials. So
Right.
the truck had come in another way. The road in is really rough, but they had dropped all the materials off down by the river where they're able to unload them. So now the next task is we've got to get these materials up to the church. So one of the reasons why we go to not just support work but to be involved is it's a great witness to the people that we're willing to get dirty, that we're willing to sweat, that we're willing to come alongside them, and we start seeing, men, women coming from down by the bridge at the river, hauling the materials up, and we're kind of waiting for things to do. So it's like, you know what? Let's go get some materials. So you got to be involved in African style transportation of construction materials. So you want to tell about that for a minute?
Oh yes, it was great blessing to be a part of it, and I guess it's about a 2.5-mile hike down there to where the material was, and so once again it's a beautiful day. So we hiked down there, and we're going to do our part to help carry some of this material out. And I tell you, I got a whole new appreciation for it just all of it is what we're blessed here in America. It's in our construction work, and just all that we have here, but to see that we're going to be a part of carrying this material, 2.5 miles back to the village, to the location where they're building the church is, and the children, everybody, like even the kids want to be a part of it and are, and you learn to see how they, they walk a lot, and so they're in great shape. So there, that's the part that I took from it. That we carried some stuff, and it's challenging, and so because over here we may carry it not near as far, not 2 miles. We just gotta carry stuff here to there, on the site. But so over there, the distance of carrying it, I was just amazed by the porters or the laborers that would put this stuff on their bikes, or and it's uphill and through streams and rocky stuff, and it's just amazing that how they get this material there to the site, how the Lord works in their lives, and by everything in faith. And I tell you, the hike in there carrying that stuff, I was like switching shoulders and just doing all this stuff, and kids were walking by me with things on their heads, young boys and girls, and I was just amazed at their balance, at their strength that I could just see, the Lord provide them with. It was an awesome part of the experience of their culture.
Fizzy was the second whole hotel. We stayed in a hotel in Sabile. We also stayed in a hotel in Fizzy. So do you remember the work in Fizzy? That one's going to be kind of on the side of a hill, a little more challenging.
Right. Yeah. It was a pretty good slope where they're building the structure, but amazing view up there, and awesome turnout for people, the locals helping to build this structure. And I got some good hands-on on the hand tool situation of digging, the depth of the footings, and just be a part of that, and to just really, to me, it was a fellowshipping with the locals, and being a part that they actually allow, the Lord, I'm there to do the Lord's work, but as to fellowship with these men of the community, to let them, to allow me to be a part of that structure and jump in and be able to help, like I said, just to dig the footings on a foundation, to be a part of the foundation of a building that community, that village, or that town's going to have a long time in that structure, the church, as they worship the Lord. It's an amazing experience. Sometimes the words, the words to come, it's just an awesome blessing that I know that only the Lord put me in that place at that moment to be there, and I'm just so thankful.
Amen. I was checking my hand because had gotten a blister on my thumb from the work there in Fizzy, and it lasted quite a while. I think I'm healed now.
Yeah.
So one of those honor badges, right?
Right.
So for, a couple days actually, Fizzy, drove up, work, stay the night, a little bit more work, and then on to Michaela. Michaela is the mining community up in the mountains. We've been to Michaela a bunch of times. Church well established there. That was the first church that we started building. And we thought they were pretty close to being finished. The roof had gotten on last year, but what happened was there was there was a big wind that came up and took the roof and kind of pulled it off. It's still kind of halfway on, halfway off, and it had been that way for quite a while. So the church has been a little discouraged about it. Some repair needs to be done. So I needed to run up to Michaela. We didn't have time or resources to do any of the construction work there, but I needed to go up and to assess the situation there in Michaela. So there's going to be some changes made in the construction. We have a new engineer that's going to make sure that things are done differently to make sure that those steel roofs are secured adequately. So we learn from the experience, and they'll fix it. It's going to take some money to take it apart, reassemble it, put it back in place, add some more steel, and get it secured. So Michaela's a great place to visit. A little cooler because it's up in the mountains, and the military base is right there. But one of the things that you do get an opportunity to see frequently is is the military. And so going into a third world country and seeing military people, we would see UN. There's United Nations base there outside of Baraka, so we'd see the UN vehicles and the guys with their big machine guns that they probably never ever use, and then of course the local military. So was there ever a time where that concerned you?
Well, not so much concerned. It's definitely, obviously we don't see guys walking around with AK-47s over here or on the road to kind of stop you. But it was just a different as, part of their culture that I never really felt any kind of threat from there. I was informed, you don't just hold your cell phone up and film them. That's kind of obvious. But even with the police, I mean, once again, I just relying on the Lord with the peace there, and just, praying that they keep that weapon, know how to operate it, and keep their finger off the trigger. So no, I wasn't really ever concerned with that. Once again, I felt comfort with the team we had, Olele and Asakulu, just to navigate us through these roads and these challenges. And first and foremost is all glory to the Lord that I always felt His presence with us.
Amen. So we had the opportunity to be involved in 6 different construction projects. Continuing to work on some of the churches, starting 4 new church projects work on church projects, continuing the work on the school,
Yes.
and seeing that, and there's so much more that needs to be done, and so we go and we do what we can. We do what we can with the resources we have, when we can, while we can, and so I think just the responsibility that we have as the church is to be faithful with whatever resources that God gives us and wherever He leads us. And this is one of the places that He is leading us to as far as missions goes. But so our time is up. We've got some other COVID concerns to leave, so we got to leave a little earlier than planned, and we're headed out. And once again, we're on that road from Baraka to Uvira, and it's a beautiful drive. I love the drive. But it has its hazard, and again, we're driving, and the side that I'm on, the passenger side, the front, and the whole axle breaks off, the tire it just ditches and plows into the dirt, and it's like, man, that's it, we're down. So this is like, okay, no welder on the side of the road is going to fix this one. So once again, stuck on the side of the road. John, how was that for you?
Yeah, so like he's saying, we're driving, and it's all kind of quiet, and then we're driving, and then bam, the tire basically it felt like it fell off, and we're like kind of skidding to a stop. And Pastor Brian's like, it was kind of funny because his reaction was like, yep, that's it, we're done, this vehicle's done. So we get out, and I mean, the tire basically is almost off. So but it was an opportunity. The house right there where we broke down just got us some chairs, and we knew we were going to have to wait for a ride, and there was just that, the backup plan, another vehicle was going to come and get us. So it's just that road, man. It just takes a toll on these vehicles, and it's although there's many challenges, there's many blessings. But in the opportunity there, we got to kind of visit with Asakulu. Actually knew one of the families there, but so I had some time to kind of just look around and just continue to look at the surroundings.
I think that involved another divine appointment, I believe. So we knew we were going to be, a few hours waiting for another vehicle to come from Uvira to take us the rest of the way, because this one's not going to go. So no welder there in that village, but it turns out that the house right there where we broke down, the sister and the mother lives there. That was related to one of the brothers from the church in Baraka that I've known for years. And when the pastor told me the name, was, oh yeah, I remember him well. So we had opportunity to spend some time just sitting under the mango tree and meeting the sister of this brother, and then his mother. Actually, when she heard we were there, she came over and sat with us for a while, and his mother talked with us. Her husband had just passed, so the father of this brother from Baraka had passed away recently, and there we are, pastor and missionaries, there at this home where they had recently had a loss, and were able, and to have visitors is not a very common thing, and so I think it was a blessing for them just to be able to show some hospitality to us, because that's also an important part of their culture. And so really, in addition to, the things that happened afterwards and, more travel drama and all that, that's really how our time in the Congo ended. Really, the climax, if you will, of this trip was a breakdown on the side of the road, but again, being reminded, as it is with life, that God uses the adverse circumstances for His glory if we're looking. If our eyes are open and we're paying attention and we're understanding that our every step is in His hands. Whether we're in Africa or in California or anywhere else, as followers of Jesus, especially when we're being obedient to the kingdom call to go and make disciples, and to just be sensitive to how God can and will use us, everything is an opportunity. Everything is an opportunity for Jesus Christ to get the glory, and that's why we're here.